I remember a 7-year-old stumbling into our biker bar clutching 7 crumpled dollar bills and asking me, "Will you kill my stepdad for me?" The whole place went dead silent. Richard, our chapter president, was the first to move. He crouched down to be eye level with the kid. Richard asked, "What's your name, son?" The boy whispered, "Tyler." Then Richard said, "Tyler, where did you get those bruises?" Tyler told us his stepdad beat him and his mom when he drank, and that tonight had been especially bad. Richard's voice dropped low as he asked, "Where does he live?" Tyler said they lived in the blue trailer at the end of Maple Road about 2 miles out. Every biker in the room knew that trailer park. It was the kind of place full of meth dealers, frequent gunfire, and cops who only went in pairs. Tank made a move for the door. "Let's go handle this right now," he said. Richard barked, "Wait." But what he said next stunned everyone. He pointed out the kid had come asking us to kill a man for $7. Richard stood up slowly. He said, "That means the kid was desperate enough to walk 2 miles in the dark looking for killers." We all exchanged hard looks. Everybody understood what that meant. Razor muttered, "The cops won't help. Never in domestic stuff until somebody's dead." Then Snake, pulling a knife, said, "Then we handle it our way." Tyler's eyes went huge, part fear, part hope. In that moment, Richard made a decision that would change everything. He said, "Call Doc." Doc wasn't a doctor anymore, just a guy who'd been a paramedic before he got caught stealing drugs and ended up with us. Doc checked Tyler and went pale. He said, "This kid's got broken ribs, maybe internal bleeding." The room erupted into curses and threats. You could tell every hardened criminal there was ready for blood. In our eyes, Tyler's stepdad had just signed his own death warrant. "Please help my mom," Tyler begged. "He said he's going to kill her tonight." Right then we heard sirens wailing in the distance. Everyone tensed. Sirens mean trouble for guys with records, but they were headed toward Maple Road. Richard's phone rang. When he answered, his face went stone cold. He said there'd been a shooting at the trailer park. Tyler collapsed to his knees, crying, "No, no, no, my mom!" What happened next broke every rule we swore by in the Bandidos. "Everyone rides now," Richard roared. 15 bikes thundered to life in the parking lot. We tore through the night, breaking every traffic law to get there. Tyler rode with Richard, clinging on as we tore through the dark. The trailer park was lit up like a war zone, flashing red and blue lights bouncing off dented trailers and broken glass. When we rolled in, 15 bikes deep, engines rumbling in unison, every head turned. The cops instantly tensed up, hands drifting toward their holsters. Seeing our patches, they knew who we were, and they didn't like it. Sheriff Johnson stepped forward, face tight. "Richard, you can't be here right now," he said. Richard didn't blink. "The boy's mother is in there." "She's alive," the sheriff replied quickly, "but her husband isn't." We looked over and saw Tyler's stepdad being loaded into an ambulance, handcuffed, bleeding from a gunshot wound. Tyler's mom sat nearby in the back of a police car, her face bruised, hands trembling. Later, we found out what had gone down while Tyler was gone. The drunk bastard had grabbed a baseball bat and started beating her again. A neighbor, a retired Vietnam vet, heard the screams, grabbed his old pistol, and ran over. When the stepdad wouldn't stop, the vet put a bullet in his shoulder to save her life. But the worst part wasn't over. Child services showed up minutes later. saying Tyler had to go into foster care immediately. His mom was being arrested too for stabbing her husband in self-defense with a kitchen knife. "No!" Tyler screamed. "Don't take my mom away." A social worker reached for him, and Richard stepped in front like a wall of steel. "Back off," he growled. "Sir, I'll have you arrested for interference," the social worker warned. "Try it," Richard said, his voice low and deadly calm. In a heartbeat, 15 bikers formed a human wall around Tyler. The cops gripped their weapons, and for a second it felt like the world stopped breathing. One wrong move, and the place would have turned into a massacre. Sheriff Johnson looked around, weighing his options. He could start a war or find another way out. Finally, he lifted a hand. "Everyone calm down. Let me make some calls." About 10 minutes later, Richard's wife pulled up. She stepped out of her car still wearing her nurse scrubs. Calm, steady, the complete opposite of the chaos around her. She worked at the local hospital, spotless record, and, luckily, she was a certified emergency foster parent. "I'll take custody of Tyler tonight," she said firmly, leaving no room for argument. The social worker hesitated, flipping through her clipboard. "That's highly irregular," she said. Richard's wife met her gaze without flinching. "Maybe, but it's legal. Check your own rules." While the paperwork was being sorted out, Richard walked over to the old Vietnam vet who had fired the shot. The man's hands were still trembling. "Thank you for saving that woman," Richard said quietly. The veteran shook his head. "Couldn't just stand there and let him kill her, not in front of that boy." "You need a lawyer?" Richard asked. The old man gave a tired smile. "Can't afford one." Richard pulled a card from his vest and pressed it into the vet's hand. "You can now. Tell him the banditos are covering it." Tyler's mom was released later that night after questioning. Turned out she hadn't actually stabbed her husband, just threatened him to make him stop. But she had nowhere to go, no family, no money. For even a cheap motel, it took less than 5 minutes for the bikers to pass the hat and raise $500. That got her and Tyler a room for the night. But trouble wasn't done with them. Tyler's stepdad was being released the next morning. His wound wasn't serious, and the prosecutor said there wasn't enough evidence to keep him locked up. He'd already told the cops that when he got out, he was going back to finish the job. Then Tyler did something nobody expected. "I recorded him," the boy said, his voice small but steady. Every eye in the room turned to him. Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out an old beat-up phone. "My real dad gave me this before he died. He told me to record when bad things happen." On that phone were 17 videos, clear footage of his stepdad beating him and his mom. The timestamp stretched back 6 months. The evidence was undeniable. When the prosecutor saw the videos, his face went pale. "This changes everything," he said. By the next day, Tyler's stepdad was charged with 37 counts of abuse and domestic violence. Bail was set at $500,000. He wasn't going anywhere. But peace didn't last long. The stepdad's brothers, 3 armed meth dealers, showed up the next night looking for revenge. They wanted Tyler and his mom dead for putting their brother behind bars. Problem was, they picked the wrong motel. 15 banditos were waiting for them in the parking lot. What happened there became part of local legend. Not a single shot was fired. But when it was over, those 3 dealers left town fast and never came back. Some folks say they're buried out in the desert. Others whisper they entered witness protection. When people ask Richard what really happened, he just shrugs and says they decided to relocate for health reasons. After his brothers disappeared, Tyler's stepdad took a plea deal, 8 years in prison. He knew exactly what would happen if he ever tried to go near Tyler or his mother again. The Vietnam veteran who had saved Tyler's mom was later awarded a medal by the city. The bandidos paid for his lawyer, and the man was never charged with a single crime. Tyler and his mom eventually moved into a small apartment, one watched over day and night by the motorcycle club. Any man who so much as looked at them the wrong way got an unexpected visit from 15 bikers who made the situation crystal clear. Tyler still kept those 7 crumpled dollars. Years later, when Richard asked him why, Tyler's answer stopped everyone cold. "Those $7 were worth more than money," he said. "They bought me an army of guardian angels who just happened to look like demons." Richard framed those bills and hung them on the wall of the Iron Horse Bar. The bandidos still meet there every Thursday night. And whenever a frightened kid walks through that door asking for help, they remember Tyler, and the night they chose to be heroes instead of killers. Because sometimes the most dangerous men become the best protectors. They understand violence and know exactly when not to use it. Tyler's grown now with a family of his own. But every week he still stops by to see Richard, not because he needs protection, but because family isn't always about blood. Sometimes family is 15 rough men in leather vests who decided to save you instead of becoming what you asked them to be. They turned their rage into purpose, their violence into protection, and their legend into something that still inspires everyone who rides with them,